Disclaimer: this complete theory explaining the function of the Egyptian pyramids come from Jeffrey Drum. For more details about this theory, visit his YouTube channel, Land of Chem. I will also present some research done by Joseph Davidovitz on the construction of the Egyptian pyramid. I'm not a chemist, I'm not a geologist. This was my view. For 6 days, I was in Cairo, analyzing those beautiful pyramids. But then I left. Now, I'm in Luxor. What I'm about to share with you is some ancient knowledge. Many people think that the pyramids were aliens' portals, electricity generator, water pump, but nobody is able to explain every composition of every pyramids. Because remember, there is not only the Great Pyramids, there are many pyramids. And why? Why do they all have a different interior composition? This is the question that we will answer in this documentary. I'm almost arrived at my Airbnb in Luxor. And everywhere I look, I keep seeing different chemicals. In our modern day of living, we are using thousands of chemicals without even knowing it. Chemicals in a civilization are very, very, very important for the growth and the development of a civilization. What I'm about to share with you guys is some very advanced but also very basic knowledge. If you have the eyes to see, you will see. And if you want to see something that doesn't work, you will see something that doesn't work. Now I just arrived in Luxor in my Airbnb. I'm ready to tell you the secrets, the true purpose of the Egyptian pyramids. Are you ready to hear this knowledge? I'm your brother Wallace, and I think it's time for the humanity to know the true purpose of the Egyptian pyramids. So come with me. Let's dive in the Nile and learn the true purpose. First, let's go back to Cairo. When I arrived in Egypt, I need to tell you something. Before I start sharing this knowledge with you, we need to put the Egyptian civilization into context. How and why are always the best questions. The Egyptian civilization, like any other ancient civilization, lived 100% in symbiosis with nature. They were living in a time where they could experiment with nature. They didn't arrive to that beautiful architecture that you see today by chance. They explore, they experiment every day, trial and error, and learn. For someone who is willing to build a civilization, this person is willing to do everything to grow and scale. The growth of a civilization is always dependent on the amount of resource that they have access to, whether it is chemicals, energy, wood, stones, plants. They were working with what they had. The area around their civilization was their playground. The more resource you have, the larger your civilization grows. And some of those resources are not present in nature. You need to make them. And this is what the Egyptian understood, that some very precious chemicals could help them develop and grow the whole civilization. So let's not be sheeps and follow what everyone is saying about the Egyptian pyramids. Let's analyze, let's look at the interior composition, let's look at the evidence, the staining on the walls, how the structures are made, the different channels. Let's look at everything and come up to the best conclusion that we can. Now, it's time. Let's go to where everything starts. Let's go at the first pyramid that was built, the step pyramid. Follow me, we're almost there. Because this is where it all starts. Come with me, let's enter the complex of the step pyramid, where the ancient large-scale chemical factory starts. Because yes, the pyramids were chemical factories.
Every couple or 3 years, the king had to prove that they're still young and strong enough. How they will do that? Of course, politicians are politicians. It's like now.
It all started with the step pyramid. In the dry season, the whole civilization was storing agricultural waste and also cow's manure. When the rainy season was arriving, they would have filled this step pyramid with both materials. Then mix in the water and you get a slurry. This slurry will go down into the biodigester to create gas eventually with the bacteria that are inside this slurry. This gas is known as methane. Now we are in the step pyramid. This is a modern passage. This is not original as you. About the reaction chamber of the first mastaba. Wow. This simple chemical reaction to produce methane gas is still used everywhere around the world today. Oui. Oui. If you've watched this and you're thinking that this makes some sense, now your next question is probably why methane? This is a very good question. Why methane? Let me explain. The blue flame created by methane gas is at a temperature of 1957 degrees Celsius. So can you imagine all the application that we can use this flame for? The Egyptian could have used the methane for methane lamp to cook and boil water, and even in metallurgy. In metallurgy, there's different metals that the Egyptian would have used: copper, gold, iron, chromium, and they all have different melting point, all under the temperature of methane gas. And this is just the beginning, because methane can be used also as a syn gas, a synthetic gas, meaning you can use methane in many other chemical reaction to create other chemicals. The Egyptian started with the step pyramid, but that's not the end. So let's continue on this journey of new knowledge. We have a long way to go. There are so many pyramids in Egypt. Not only the Great Pyramid that everyone focus on. I will tell you everything if you are ready to hear it. I will show you everything if you are ready to see it. So now, let's continue. This methane was transported to another pyramid. Can you guess which one? If you said the Red Pyramid, you guessed it right. The methane produced was transported into an underground channel to the Red Pyramid. Oh, and I forgot to tell you a very critical detail. Every ancient pyramid in Egypt were surrounded by a 33 feet high wall in order to hold the water around the pyramid. This is how they were activated. Because remember, in Egypt, there's two seasons, the dry season and the rainy season. And during the rainy season, the Nile River would have flood and the water would have gone around every pyramid. Entering the red pyramid, and as you can see, it's not made for humans to come in. It's way too small. Way too small. Because no humans were coming inside. It was a chemical factory, and this red pyramid was producing ammonia from the methane produced in the step pyramid. I will show you and I will explain the 3 chambers that we find inside. There's 2 chambers on the same level, and there's a third final synthesis chambers higher. I will explain the process. Follow me. Before we enter the chambers, I want to show you something. Today, in the laboratory, we use a apparatus to capture ammonia, and look how similar it is to the composition of the red pyramid. 2 chambers at the same level and one a little bit higher to capture the ammonia solution. We are entering the first reaction chamber. Here, and now you will see. This is the first reaction chamber. With the channel going to the second reaction chamber, and then you will see the third that is right here, going like this. Was probably a perfect square. It was maybe, say just maybe, where the methane arrived from the step pyramid. To fill this chamber, methane was a gas, so it was going higher and higher because it's less dense than air. So it was going higher and higher. And then this first chamber was filled with water. It would be filled over this and also over this, sealing the chamber, making it airtight. Then the water would go up, 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 and because of the composition of this chamber, because it's a vaulted chamber, it becomes smaller, it would compress the methane gas, and eventually, because when you compress something, it creates also some heat, it would create steam on the surface of the water. The steam would mix with the methane and create carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Then this chamber would be drained, and the gas would follow the water and follow the drainage and go into the second reaction chamber. Now we're passing here, like the gas used to pass. And now we are in the second reaction chamber. And up there, somewhere on this wall, there's a second canal going to the third chamber that is higher. This is where the final synthesis chamber is found. So this is the exact same composition as the first reaction chamber. Because if you look at an ancient apparatus to create ammonia, you will see the exact same composition. 2 chambers, exact same volume, exact same size next to each other. And then you have a third one that is higher. This is how you create a ammonia solution. So it's not a ammonia, it's not a liquid ammonia. It's an ammonia solution, not the same thing. At the top of this chamber, you will see some black staining. Now you tell me, what do you think this is? You see, we are still in the second chamber. On the other side of this channel, we have the first reaction chamber. The gases were coming here, going at the top because they are less dense than air. And another chemical reaction would take place over here. And look behind me. This is the second channel going to the final synthesis chamber, the third chamber of the red pyramid. Let's go and see what's inside. Entering the last synthesis chamber. Here you can see the last synthesis chamber. Wow. Going out of the red pyramid by this channel. Now you might understand the process and you might be asking, what are the uses of ammonia and where is ammonia going next? I will explain all of this to you. Bear with me. Ammonia can be used for water purification, the manufacture of plastic, explosives, textile, pesticide, and even pigments for textile. The main use of ammonia in our modern society is for agriculture as fertilizer. About 80% of the ammonia produced by industry is used for this purpose. So it's easy to believe that the Egyptians were no different, especially living in a climate like there. They could have used this ammonia to make agriculture a lot easier for a civilization of millions of people. Food is needed. We don't have time to not have food for the people. The ammonia solution produced by the Red Pyramid is in liquid form, so it is very difficult to store, to transport, or exchange. So the Egyptian had a solution. They said, why not make ammonia a solid material? At this point, if you're still watching, it means you see some truth in what I'm sharing with you. Bear with me, I won't deceive you. I have a lot more to share with you. We are about to enter the bent pyramid, where the ammonia solution from the red pyramid was transformed into ammonium bicarbonate. So let's run. Let's run to the truth. We deserve it. Look how beautiful the casing stones are. This bent pyramid is very, very, very impressive. Wow, and behind me we see the red pyramid, but take a look at this. The casing stones, wow! Now it's time to enter, but before we do, let me share with you the composition of the bent pyramid. Okay, bye. Now entering the bent pyramid. Again, as you can see,
Backwards is good.
you can
Backwards,
see
backwards.
we are okay. Yes, yes, yes. As you can see, it's not really made for humans to come in. You see? And as my mother is saying, we're like 5 feet 5'6", so we're not tall. So imagine. Ugh. In the next video, I made a little mistake. I'm here, but I'm explaining what's happening here. Just so you know. From there, and we are here in the primary reaction chamber. This is where the ammonia solution from the red pyramid would fill almost all of this. And then the carbon monoxide that was a byproduct of the reaction in the red pyramid would percolate inside that solution. And this would force the ammonia solution to transform into ammonium bicarbonate. Ammonium bicarbonate is a solid form of ammonia. So think about it. When they made the ammonia solution in the red pyramid, it's a liquid solution. So it's very hard to transport, it's very hard to store, it's very hard to use, it's very hard to exchange. So they decided, let's make a solid form of that compound. And then when you have ammonium bicarbonate, it's a lot easier to use as a fertilizer and many other applications. You can store it, you can exchange it. It's like very easy to sell. So this is why they created the bent pyramid with this little flies telling me that yes, it's true. So I came from here. Now I'm at the top of the primary reaction chamber. As you can see, this is the top. Now there's this little channel and we're going in. Again, you can see, not made for humans. It had a different purpose, it's not a tomb. Here we are. And there's more over there. Behind me, with this stick, maybe it's hard to imagine, but this is the famous block that Jeffrey is talking in his theory. That this would be like a stone valve, if you want. It would close this gap over here. So it could be closed depending on where the chemical process is at, because it was a step-by-step process. Many different steps was needed to accomplish the compounds that you wanted. So I don't know if you can see it. Let me try. It's a little bit hard, but so this is a big block that would slide right here. Now I cannot put my light, but if I put it, you can tell this is like a little room, also a little chamber, and this is the block. Now there are some steps. We are going up into the chamber that is above ground. And this is very deteriorated. You can see it's not beautiful, it's round. So that's probably because of the chemical process that was taking place over here. very powerful and corrosive for the stones. Look at this. If I remove this, you see, and this is the Lebanese cedar. In resume, the ammonia solution created by the red pyramid would arrive into this chamber. And then carbon dioxide would be percolated inside to force the creation of ammonium bicarbonate. Then this ammonium bicarbonate would then go into a lower chamber called the separation chambers, where the temperature and the pressure is lower. This would force the ammonium bicarbonate to go at the bottom of the solution in a form of a slurry. Eventually, that slurry will be removed from the pyramid and would be dried in the sun to create solid form of ammonia, like we can buy today, ammonia pellets. Now that you know the true purpose of the step, red, and bent pyramid, let's run back and jump in the car. We need to drive back to the Giza Plateau to learn the true purpose of the Great and Central Pyramid. Come with me. This is just the beginning. Buckle your seatbelt. We are about to challenge a very mainstream ideology. Most people believe that the Great Pyramid was a tomb or an electric generator. But when we analyze the interior composition, we see something else. With knowledge, we have different glasses. Let's find the true purpose of this beautiful pyramid. We are about to enter the Great Pyramid, so I can explain to you the true purpose. But first, I would like to give you more knowledge about how they built those pyramids. They use a science of chemistry called geopolymer. Those stones are artificial stones made with a science called geopolymer. We can do some basalt geopolymer, granite geopolymer, limestone geopolymer, sandstone geopolymer, andesite geopolymer, diorite geopolymer. There is no limit. Any stones that weathered over time, we can reverse engineer and bring it back to a solid state with a more perfect composition and shape it as we want to. And this is what the Egyptians used to build those pyramids. They didn't move those blocks for kilometers, they poured them in place. People propose that the pyramids were built using natural stones. But let me show you the casing stones that are still left, that are not in good shape, that are still here, and you be the judge. Because the joints are perfect. The same thing that I saw in Peru. Less than a millimeters. The joints are perfect. There is no defect, no error. And what we do as humans, we do little errors. If I analyze 30 stones, I would be able at least to find one mistake, one little notch. But it's not the case. Look at this. So we start from here. Those are all casing stones for this gigantic pyramid called the Great Pyramid of Cheops. And then look at this joint. Do you think this is natural stone cut by someone? Now let's continue. You see this? Look at this. Look over here. It's almost the same stone. But no, there's a joint. Why? Because it's geopolymer. It's not natural stones. Don't be foolish and believe that we can cut like this. Even if we cut with a saw, for a long cut like this, it's impossible to make it fit perfectly like this. This is geopolymer. When you mold the geopolymer after one is dried, the mix of the next one will go and take the shape of the previous one, because the mix is either in sand form, in paste form, or liquid form. This is geopolymer, either in a acidic medium or alkaline medium. So there's a high possibility that all the stones of the pyramids are geopolymer, because why would you only use geopolymer for the casing stone if you have the knowledge? When you go at the central pyramid, you see at the bottom some red granite, definitely geopolymer. And same thing at the pyramid of Menkaure that is behind this one. At the bottom there is some red granite. Again, geopolymer, because this is for sure, it's the same shape as the stones in Peru. So please question everything and don't believe the mainstream right away. Come here and analyze with your own eyes and see what you see. If the joints are perfect like this, it's almost overlapping. Like, I don't know if you can see, but it's almost overlapping. So your call. But I believe this is geopolymer. Now we are entering the Great Pyramid, Pyramid of Khufu, and I will explain to you guys the chemical process that was taking place inside. Look here. This is not original. This little path is not original, but this one is. And this comes from the first underground pump, if you want, for the water to come up. And eventually we will get into the Grand Gallery that they call Grand Gallery, which is actually a contact process chamber. So this shaft, wow, this shaft is going upwards into the ground gallery. This was filled with water, so the water could go into the grand gallery. You can tell it's not made for humans. Because look, this is how I need to be to go up. This is not made for humans. No humans were made to come inside those pyramids. It was a chemical factory. Here we are in the Grand Gallery. This is not a Grand Gallery. This is a contact process chamber. So this was filled with water. All of this. Up to the upper tier. And eventually at the end over there we have the antechamber. It's a very important process because it will change the sulfur dioxide into sulfur trioxide before it comes in contact with the water to create sulfurous acid. So this was filled with water. High temperature was felt here. Nobody was inside, but high temperature because on the other side there's the sulfur furnace, also known as the king's chamber. Now we are going into the antechamber right here. It's a very small opening. As you can see, this is a dehumidifier or deshumidifier, and it's not big. So I need to crouch like this. It's not made for humans. And this is the antechamber. Most people that come here and analyze, they don't know why there's some groove like this. And now we are entering what they call the king's chamber. Here you have the feeling that very high temperature was over here. It feels like a oven because this is a sulfur furnace. It's not a king's chamber. This recipient of red granite was probably made to hold the sulfur. And now, over us, on top, we have 5 layers of red granite. Why? Why red granite over the king's chamber? Because it has a very high thermal resistance. Then look, here we have an air shaft. This air shaft was going completely outside. Why? To draw some air when the water was removed from the Grand Gallery. So this place, the King's Chamber, is actually a sulfur furnace. Was the other air shaft. So this is going outside also. So we have this one over here. This one over here. Now this shape is probably not natural. They've placed this to hide and also to continue the aeration. It's very hot out here. Very, very hot. But in ancient time, this was a oven, not a king's chamber. You see? It can enter by here. Then when the sulfur dioxide was ready, the gas was ready, it could move over here. And then I showed you guys that there's little holes. So then it goes up like here and it becomes into sulfur trioxide. And then it can continue and go into the contact process chamber and mix with the water and make sulfurous acid. So over there, right there, this is the antechamber. Right here, this gap, this hole that goes up. Then we continue and then we come back into the contact process chamber, also known as the grand gallery, which is not a grand gallery. This is where the sulfur trioxide mix with the water, dissolve in the water, become sulfurous acid. Sulfurous acid is unstable, so sulfurous acid will eventually become sulfuric acid. And this is what the Great Pyramid was producing, sulfuric acid on a very large scale. But then sulfurous acid can be useful in metallurgy and many other applications, but it's not strong enough to purify gold. So they need to amplify the strength of this acid. So the sulfuric acid will need to go in the central pyramid of Café, and I will go right now and show you the inside and explain to you the chemical process. Vámonos. Out of the Great Pyramid and going into the Central Pyramid. Stay with me. Before entering the Central Pyramid, I feel the need to tell you the uses of the sulfuric acid produced by the Great Pyramid. The sulfuric acid can be used in the manufacture of fertilizers, can be used in the making of paint, pigments, dyes, explosives, as well as being used in metallurgy. In metallurgy, sulfuric acid is used for the extraction of copper, zinc, and lead from their ores. It is also used for leaching ores and waste tailing for different metals recoveries. But sulfuric acid isn't strong enough to purify gold. So the Egyptian needed a solution. They needed something to amplify the sulfuric acid. And this is what the Central Pyramid does. So this is the primary shaft that is going inside the Central Pyramid. And I will show you where the saturated sodium chloride solution was put. Let the water to evaporate. So we have solid sodium chloride. And then the sulfuric acid coming from the Great Pyramid was coming into a underground channel into this one, and the sulfuric acid was mixed with the sodium chloride to produce hydrochloric acid. Vámonos. Look, this is the primary shaft going down. Not made for humans to go in. Because it was a chemical factory. It wasn't made for humans to go in. At this point, you should know. Just look at the composition. We arrived by here. Now we're going here. This is not made for humans to go in. This is interesting. I will need to study this, but. Right, so we come from here, right there. We climb up. Then you get here. You see this. Another passage going over there. Pretty sure there's another shaft going outside. I will show you guys. And probably over there, the first chamber and the corridor that is going down, this is the collection chamber. And where we are going is the primary reaction chamber, where the saturated sodium chloride, I will tell you like this, where the saturated sodium chloride was inserted in the chamber, let for a long time for the water to evaporate in order to have solid sodium chloride. And as I told you before coming in, the sulfuric acid from the Great Pyramid was then coming into an underground channel and going into this chamber, mixing with the solid sodium chloride. And this solution was creating other chemicals before we have hydrochloric acid. So follow me and I will explain to you more in details what are the chemicals before it mixed with water and before we have hydrochloric acid. In this chamber that the saturated sodium chloride was placed in, let for the water to evaporate to have solid sodium chloride. Then the sulfuric acid was coming from the Great Pyramid, mixing with the sodium chloride to produce what? To produce sodium bisulfate and hydrogen chloride gas. The hydrogen chloride will eventually dissolve in water, and when completely dissolved in water, we have hydrochloric acid. Why hydrochloric acid? Remember, gold is stable to even strong acids, but a special combination of nitric acid and hydrochloric acid can dissolve it. This combination is well known to the alchemists. They use the term aqua regia, which is Latin for royal water, because of its special ability to dissolve gold. The ancient alchemists knew that when you are able to purify gold to the highest standard, it means you are able to purify your temple to the highest standard, meaning your body, your mind, your soul are all connected and vibrating to the highest frequency of love. Now you know. You saw, you heard the true purpose of the Egyptian pyramids. Every composition of every pyramids are different for a reason. And now you know why. Never you will be able now to see something different from the true purpose of the Egyptian pyramids. Thank you for watching this short film, this little documentary, this brief moment of knowledge. I hope you learned a thing or two, or three or four, and that you can share the knowledge with your loved one, because knowledge is the true purpose.